Hi, welcome to Midwest Magic Cleaning. My name is yeah. And today we're going to be talking about how to manage your storage spaces, which of all the places that I've cleaned, and I've done, I don't even know, 250 videos so far on this channel, storage spaces are always the most complex things that really kind of destroy a house and make it look chaotic. Because what happens is you get a spare room, or at least people in the Midwest do. We typically rent houses rather than apartments because there aren't really apartments here. So we end up with these extra rooms that we don't know what to do with, and then all of our junk goes into that room. Now they typically start out pretty innocent. You got some boxes of clothes and some craft stuff and puzzles or whatever it is that you collect. Dead fish, the tears of your fallen enemies, whatever it is, you got it in a tub or a box and you just set it in there and you stack it. Everything's nice and neat to start out, but then over time you just start throwing stuff in there because boxes tend to shift and fall over, or you don't have time. You're just like, nobody goes in that room anyway, so I'll just throw this crap in there. Eventually it starts looking like the places that I clean on this channel. Now my garage, we're not just doing the garage, by the way, so don't think this is a garage video, but my garage started out like this because we had to remove a whole bunch of carpet from my house that was ruined, which fine, I hated that carpet anyway, but we didn't have a dumpster and we can't really just throw this away in the trash, so it all got thrown out here in the garage. Since I knew we were going to get a dumpster, we also did the same thing with a bunch of boxes and styrofoam and packaging and Jason's dignity. He's filth. Pure and unbridled filth is what he is. He is exactly one filth. I am sorry for that. That sometimes Jason just gets to me and that takes over and I can't help it. So anyway, I finally got a dumpster and I told him, you get over to my house and I mean now. And then you're going to help me throw this stuff in the dumpster. And then he started crying and I'm like, don't cry. You're just going to throw the stuff in the dumpster. And then he did it and then my garage was clean. But the point is that we're going to show you how to manage this storage space because there are certain steps to take in order to get a room back to being functional and to have a purpose. So this garage, its purpose is twofold, maybe threefold. I'm going to use it partially for storage. I'm going to park my car in here and then I use it to work on stuff. But right now, so much of the area is taken up with just random garbage and clutter and useful stuff that it's not really functional for any of those three things. So step one in managing a storage space is going to be we're going to move all the stuff around and we're going to clean the floors and stuff like that. But step one is we're going to get rid of the things that are obvious garbage. And this is really important because whenever you're managing a storage space, you're going to have a whole bunch of stuff in there that needs to just go. Like even aside from the garbage, that we'll get to that in a minute because that's kind of step two. But well, let me not get ahead of myself and just go back to step one, get rid of the garbage. So carpets, boxes, stray moose. Please don't throw me in the dumpster. I am a pretty smart moose and I am friendly. Shut up, talking moose, and get in the dumpster. Now, once we get the trash taken out, I like to divide the room up into like a grid system. I'll mark off like mentally a 10 foot by 10 foot area if you're in a garage or a 3 foot by 3 foot area if you're in a smaller room. And I'm going to move things out of that area and clean it as I go. So for instance, in this area, I'm going to try to move away all the stuff that's just crammed in this corner and just sweep the floors. Then I can start putting things back in a more symmetrical way and kind of consolidating like things with like things. So for instance, some of this stuff is my mother-in-law's that's just in storage until we can get it up to her and she lives in another state. So I'll have one consolidation pile that's just mentally I mark as mother-in-law. I have another pile that's going to be mine, and that's things like power washer, chainsaw, air compressor, and those are typically things that when I use them on the same day. So I'm going to consolidate those things together because the like-mindedness of the pile isn't necessarily this thing is similar to this thing. It's more like-mindedness in the fact that its purpose and its usefulness is all grouped together for my ease of use. Remember, when you're organizing, not everything has to be organized as same objects with same objects. Sometimes the organization can be used as a logistic thing. So you're organizing by purpose rather than just the physical properties of the objects. So suck it. Now, one of the problems that we had with this garage is that it's a 2-car garage, but I could only get 1 car in it because the way we were storing stuff was on the sides of the garage rather than at the front of the garage. So we're going to take all that storage stuff that was along the sides and we're going to put it toward the front so that we can get 2 cars in side by side. And I think that for a storage room is one of the most important things, which is thinking about functionality. So what is the problem with this room? What is stopping me from using it in a specific way and then getting rid of that problem? In this case, it was taking some cabinetry and chairs and all my cleaning supplies that were stacked against the wall and finding another location for them. The easiest way to do that for us was to take a big cabinet that we're using for storage and putting it at the front of the garage and moving the deep freeze over so they could both fit. And then again, keep in mind that each time we're doing this, we're using that grid system. So once we get one corner completely stacked in the way I want it, we move to the next part of the grid and clean that up. Each time we do it, we're cleaning the floors as we go. Otherwise, the way that we'd have to clean this is to take literally everything out of the garage, sweep the floors, blow it out with a leaf blower, and then put everything back. And that is just way too much work, and it's kind of overkill. You can do that if you want, and in fact, it can be fun to completely empty out a room and do a move out, move in cleaning. But in this case, it just makes more sense in a sense of mental economics to just kind of move everything out of the way, clean it, then move the things back into a place that makes sense.
So right now, let's get them out of the way. Let's put them over here. And let's get this trash can here and these 2 boxes put over there too. I'll sweep all this out and we'll figure out what to do with it. Alright, now this can be rolled over in that direction with all those other things. Yeah, that's crazy. Too far on there, otherwise I'm going to switch off camera. One. Yeah, all that came from half the garage. Jeez.
So when you're putting things back after you've cleaned it up, there's 2 things that you have to keep in mind. You have to ask yourself if what you're putting back is functional or if it's just in storage. So you'll have, I don't know, Christmas decorations, old clothing or seasonal clothing that's in storage, your breakdance battle equipment, and whatever it is that you've got in storage that you know you're not going to use for a while. That can be set aside and can be put in kind of whatever place that you want. Functional things need to be put where you can access them and to where you know what the thing is. So for instance, we're going to put 2 boxes of their cases of paper towels. They're too big to fit in my kitchen, so we set them beside the step. That way we can just open the garage door, pull out a roll of paper towels, and put them where they go. That's a functional thing. That just means we don't have to walk all over the garage to get them. We can just step out, grab it, and go back in. The deep freeze was put closer to the door because now it's just a little bit easier to access. But the other things, like my mother-in-law's stuff, is just in storage waiting for us to deliver that to her. So that can be set aside in some area of the garage that you don't even access. But you're going to need to make that decision as you're putting each thing away. Is it functional or is it just storage? So for instance, like Jason is not functional, so I just store him at his own house. We're going to also utilize whatever space we can that is, I call them cubby holes. So I have a little tool shed that's built into the garage. And for the last year or two, I've just been storing my cleaning supplies along the wall in my garage. So those things are functional, but I don't use them every week. So I can put those into the tool shed along with all the other stuff that I don't use daily, but I still need access to. That way they're not out in the middle of the floor, but if I need them, they're in an easy spot to retrieve. When you're doing a room, like a storage room instead of a garage, which you'll see us doing that here in just a minute, then you can utilize things like shelving or closets or an old dresser or whatever to get things kind of out of sight, out of mind. And those are the things that you're just going to put in storage that you don't have to look at all the time. That way you can keep your functional stuff out in the open so that you can easily retrieve them. But the whole thing with putting things back is that you're going to put the objects with like objects so that they're easy to find. So if we have a whole bunch of clothing, we're going to stack all the clothing together. That way you don't even really have to label them at that point unless you're just completely overloaded with storage stuff, in which case you need to consider donating. If you've got a ton of stuff in storage that you're not using for years, it may be time to purge. But we're going to keep that stuff together because when somebody says, where's my jacket or whatever for this winter, it's over there with all the other clothes. In our case, like if we're looking for a specific color of paint to spruce something up in the house, all of our paint is kept in one cabinet. If I need to defend myself by throwing a live, barking, snapping wolf at somebody as a weapon, then I've got that in the wolf shelf.
One of those IGA bags out, and put those rags in it, and throw those downstairs. Try to get as many of the leaves off as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I don't throw out the leaves in the water.
Now, when you're doing a room, the methodology is going to be basically the same, but the pace in which you do it is going to be a little bit different because you're working with an area that's much more cramped than a garage. So this is a perfect example of how it started out as a neatly stacked storage room, and then over time it just got messier and messier until you just look at it and go, I'm just going to fling this thing in there because it already looks like crap. And that typically doesn't happen overnight. That happens over time. So the first thing we're going to do here is we know most of the stuff in this room is not trash, but I'm still going to get a trash bag because some of it is. I'm going to start going through each of these boxes, and my wife is sitting outside this door, and we are passing boxes to her as we go through them so she can say keep or throw away. As I'm going through these boxes, there are some things I know that are going to be kept automatic. For instance, yarn. All yarn is going to go into boxes together. So as I'm picking up boxes, I'm consolidating items because you'll get like one box that's got, I don't know, a Nintendo controller in it and also a ball of yarn. So I'm going to take the yarn out of that and put it in the yarn box. So as I'm picking up boxes, I'm going to consolidate things together and take the stuff that I know I'm going to keep and find a spot for it, or at a bare minimum, just set it aside. In this case, this was so cluttered that I was handing boxes to Jason and saying, start a yarn pile over here in another room, and then start a craft pile over here here in that same room just so we can get it out of this one. But I'll be doing that with every item in the room. If I find a box that's half full of makeup and I find another box that's got a handful of nail polish or whatever in it, I'm going to consolidate those together just to start increasing the amount of storage that we've got per box. So in other words, as I'm putting things in boxes, I'm freeing up space in the rest of the room, because one big full box is better than two half full boxes. Now, as I do that, I'm going to start creating empty boxes that I can use for other things. Now, the goal here is to get everything either stacked or the room emptied, and it's kind of a mixture of both in this particular room, so that I can start stacking those consolidated items with each other, because I'm not just going to have one box of yarn. I'm going to have like four. So I'm going to designate one corner of the room just to yarn. I'll designate another corner of the room just for clothing. I'll designate another corner of the room just for Jason to stand there and shut up. He better shut up, son. And again, if we're consolidating items with like items and then keeping those boxes all together, it becomes so simple to navigate that you don't even really need to label them. You can if you want. I just typically don't, because it's super easy to find what you need. When you look at the top box and you notice that it's yarn, all the other boxes underneath that are also going to be yarn. Now, we took this opportunity, and I highly suggest that you do the same thing, to declutter. And when I say declutter, I don't mean just organize. I mean get rid of stuff that you don't use. When you're going through a room like this, I guarantee that a minimum of 20% of the stuff you're storing in there is absolute junk. That at the time you put it in the room, you're like, I don't want to get rid of that. I kind of like this thing. I want to save it. But when you go through a room like this a year later, you're going to look at it and say, why in the world did I ever save that? That's weird. So we took out probably 5 bags of trash just by decluttering. So at the end of this, whenever you see the after picture, you're going to be like, where did you put all the stuff? Well, a lot of it got consolidated into boxes, and basically the room just got Tetrised, and then the rest of it went right in the dumpster, son. Now, if you want to donate stuff like this is a perfect opportunity, but I warn you a couple of things. One, you can't just dump your junk at a donation center and let them deal with it. A lot of times they won't take just random junk. Two, I live in an area where we don't really have donation centers. We don't have homeless. We don't have women's shelters. We have maybe one place that will take clothing sometimes, but they're so overloaded with donations that a lot of the donated stuff ends up going straight to the dumpster anyway. Also, if you don't immediately take that stuff to get donated, I promise you that will just sit in storage forever, just waiting for one of you in the house to get motivated enough to put it in a car or a truck and drive it over there. The longer that stuff sits, the longer you have a chance to change your mind on whether you want to keep it or donate it. So I would use your momentum, if you're going to donate, to immediately donate. Don't let it sit. If you're not going to donate it, toss it in the trash. It's better for that stuff to go to a landfill than to clog up your house and make your place unlivable. Yes, it sucks for stuff like that to go to a landfill. That's the consequences of overspending and keeping stuff that doesn't need to be kept. Now, I say this on the channel a lot, and I say it because it's important. If you live with somebody who has hoarding disorder or severe ADHD, do not do this stuff unless you have them present. Throwing their stuff away without their permission is a violation to them mentally. So it would be the same thing as them going through all your clothes and just throwing half of it away while you were at work. In the case of hoarding disorder, it would be like them coming into your house and getting rid of your dog, because these are disorders, and so they don't operate with a sense of quote-unquote normalcy. They have to be a part of the decision in what gets thrown away. Doing otherwise can actually exacerbate their problem and cause a massive amount of stress, which will lead to more hoarding or more buying, more spending, more storing, and it can actually make the problem worse. My wife has ADHD, and so as I'm doing that, she's sitting right outside the door and we're showing her everything. When the decision is in her hands, she knows what's being thrown away, and she doesn't have the anxiety of wondering, did they accidentally throw away my pearls? Did they accidentally throw away Stone Cold Steve Austin? Because this room is where we store him. By her being a part of this decision-making process, she knows that yes, we do still have Steve Austin. He's just hanging out in the corner drinking beer with the other Steve Austins that we have down there. Did they throw away my yarn? No, it's in a whole bunch of boxes that are stacked together that's all filled with yarn. Did they accidentally throw away my moose? No, we threw that sucker away on purpose. You go to hell, moose! Please don't tell me to go to hell. I am a friendly moose. You shut up! Anyway, whenever you put things back, we're going to do it the same way that we did the garage. Anything that's functional is going to be within easy grasp right inside the doorway. Everything else is going to be Tetrised along the walls or inside of closets or cabinets. Everything will be consolidated and grouped and stacked with like objects. And really that's it. It's an exhausting job, but I'm telling you that once you get it done, the stress that gets off of your shoulders is immeasurable. If I have one major piece of advice for you, it would be two pieces of advice, so suck it. Call me two-time advice giving Johnny. Yo man, is that old two-time advice giving Johnny? I don't know. Let's ask him for advice and see if he gives us two instead of one. I bet he does. One, take lots of breaks. We typically work about 10 minutes and then take a 5 or 10 minute break. It's your place, it's your junk, it's your body. Take it slow. Nobody's telling you to be efficient. I get that a lot on the channel. You could go so much faster if you did this. Well, it's not a factory. I don't have to go fast. I'm not worried about speed. I'm worried about results and my motivation to get that result done. And if I treat it like a factory job and just try to go balls to the wall, then I'm going to get burnt out and I'm going to hate doing the chore. The second would be do things in just sections at a time. You're not cleaning this room. You're cleaning a 3-foot by 3-foot section. You're not cleaning the garage. You're cleaning the corner of the garage. That's it. When that's all done, that's a little finish line that you've crossed, and that can help with motivation to move on to the next part of the grid. And if you're helping somebody throw things away, somebody who's got hoarding disorder or somebody who's got ADHD, it's fine to occasionally challenge them on certain things that they want to keep if it seems to be a little ridiculous, but don't do that constantly. If they want to keep something, let them keep it, put it in a box, try to store it in a logical, symmetrical way. But if you keep pressing them to throw things away and you make this a bad process in their mind, they're going to be way more likely to not do this in the future. A lot of people with ADHD and a lot of people with hoarding disorder need to take baby steps. So if they walk away feeling better about having gotten rid of some stuff, that's way, way more productive than them walking away feeling like crap because you just gave them nonstop crap about keeping things. You want them to walk away with a positive feeling rather than a negative one. Otherwise, they'll be like, I am not going through that again. That was horrible. For those of you who don't know, Jason is having a baby for the first time, which means that I am going to be a grandpa for the first time. Many members asked for a baby registry. However, he's going to have an overload of baby stuff coming from me, his stepmom, his mom, his grandma, Santa Claus, disembodied moose voices. He's going to have an overload of baby stuff. So I spoke with members and they said that they would be down for doing donations to help repair his house before the baby's born. So far, they have actually helped replace replace his floors in its entirety, and now we're working on the windows. He needed 3 main things to happen: his floors, his windows, and then some drywall replacement. So if you're interested in that, and if you want to give him a gift for the baby stuff, I have a PayPal set up. It's just under midwestmagiccleaning@gmail.com. I'll put that username in the description of this video. And if you'd like to donate, that's great, and we really appreciate it. If you can't afford it, please don't donate anything. We don't want people putting themselves out on anyone's behalf, not just ours, but anyone's behalf. Take care of yourself first and then worry about other people later. 100% of that money goes towards Jason's house repairs. No other money goes anywhere else. We also don't use any other money app except for PayPal. So if you get a message from somebody who looks like me as far as the avatar and the way I talk, and they're saying that we'll take donations over Cash App or whatever, that's not me. Do not donate. I only accept PayPal at this one address. And don't worry if you can't donate, because this is stuff he'll be able to take care of over time. It's just if you were wanting to send him a gift, we could just use the money to repair the house way more than we could use the gifts, and it just speeds up the process. So instead of it taking him 2 years to do it, it would take him 2 months to do it. Anyway, I'll stop rambling about that. For those who don't know, we have a members only section that you guys get an additional video every week for the mid tier and the upper tier. You get access to Discord. I do some lives and stuff through the members only section. Again, if you can't afford it, don't do it. But the number one thing that you can do to support this channel is subscribe. We're on our way to 1 million subscribers, and whenever we hit that, we get a gold plaque. And that, for me personally, that's the only thing I want out of the channel, is the gold plaque. Anyway, members, we will see you this Wednesday. Everybody else, we'll see you next weekend. Later.